Now let's go over variables and data types. So let's start with this right here. This is a statement that declares and initializes a variable. Let's go over all the parts here. I'm going to start with this part right here, the thing in red. And this is the name of our variable. You can basically name your variable almost anything. And the reason I say almost is that you cannot name your variable any of the reserved keywords in Java. As we saw earlier, one of the reserved keywords is class. We cannot name our variable class because it is one of the keywords that Java actually refers to a concept, a entity in Java, and we cannot refer to our variable as that because it's going to confuse the compiler. So knowing that, let's just avoid those words that we already see and name our variable something unique that doesn't exist, that Java doesn't actually reserve for another function, which is test score. And test score is the name of our variable, and it's a pretty descriptive name, which is what we want because it denotes the actual test score that I received. Right? So it's a descriptive variable, and that's exactly what we need. Now, let's look at the data type. This right here is the data type of a variable. And the data type basically refers to the value we're trying to store. Now, I want to store a test score. So basically, a test score usually ranges from 0 to 100, right? If I'm thinking of percentages. And if we don't think of decimal scores, I basically have I want to store my score of 97. 97 is an integer. So what would be perfect? An int. Int data type, which refers to an integer, which can store any value from a certain limit, which we'll go over later. But for now, you can basically think of it as any integer, which is any negative number excluding decimals, 0, and then any positive number excluding any decimals, so a whole number. Basically, you can store integer. Those are encompassed by the integer data type. And now you see this equal sign right here. And this equal sign may not be the equal sign you see in maths. This int test score is not equal to this 97 we see here. It basically refers to, it's an assignment operator. It's an assignment operator, and what it does is it basically assigns the test score variable a value of 97. So it assigns the test score variable a value of 97. It does not equal, it's assigning. So the variable test score, which is an integer, is assigned the value of 97. And then we see this semicolon right here. So what does that do? Well, you may actually have seen this earlier, but a semicolon right here, also see it right here. So what does the semicolon do? Well, the semicolon basically ends any statement in Java. It's an indicator to Java that, hey, I'm done with this line, and this is the end of my statement. So this is where this statement ends, and the next one starts right after this. So let's go to the next statement. Here you can see I have a variable name of GPA. It's called GPA, and it's of type double. Now, what is the double type? Well, let's look at the value I'm trying to store using the assignment operator for some clues. You can see that this is a decimal. It's not an integer because it's not 3.94 is not a whole number like 3 or 4. And I'm trying to store my GPA. So GPAs often range from 0 to 4. But I don't want to store exactly 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 with an int because GPAs can be anywhere between that. I can have a GPA of 2.56 or 3.94 in this case. So I want to know, how can I store this? And for that, the double data type is perfect. Doubles can be used to store decimals. So whenever you want to store any decimal number, positive or negative, use the double data type. Now let's head over to the last variable we see here, has the name passing grade, and it's of type Boolean. So what is a Boolean? A Boolean is any value that is any variable that can hold the value of either true or false. That's all it can hold. Only two things, either true or false. And so over here, in this case, my variable passing grade is being assigned, using the equal sign, the assignment operator, a value of true, which means I'm passing. And then the statement is ended with a semicolon, which denotes that this is the end of the statement. So just declare a variable called passing grade which is of type Boolean, which means it can either store true or false. In this case, assign it the value of true. And over here, I want you to predict the output of this right here, knowing what system.out.println does and what system.out. Again, two system.out.printlns, what they do and what will be the output. And if you said that the output would be on your screen would be GPA, and then we have the println here, as opposed to system.out.print. What this does is it doesn't move to the next line. It doesn't move the cursor to the next line. So in this case, we have the ln, which means we have to move the cursor to the next line. So we go to the next line, and we print out my GPA, which is 3.94. So the output on your screen would look something like this.